Broadbent here, violinist and instructor at Online Violin Education, where I train violinists all over the world how to improve their technical skill sets for more melodic playing. I'm really excited. Today we are starting our 5-day vibrato challenge, and we are at day 1. This challenge will consist of 2 different layers throughout the challenge, okay? So we're going to have one layer of the challenge that's for violinists that are new to vibrato, okay? And then the next layer of the challenge is going to be for violinists that have a vibrato, okay? So you can put yourself into one of those categories. Are you a violinist that's a newbie to vibrato, or are you a violinist that already has a vibrato? And then continue on with the challenge in that direction, okay? So here at day 1, I'm just going to lay a little bit of foundation, because as with everything with a violin, if you don't have the proper foundation, the proper soil or fertilizer in your garden, whatever you are attempting to do is not going to flourish as well if the foundation isn't set. I have a blog post that I've written called Vibrato in 3 Steps, and within that blog post I even have another video that you can go through, and I would recommend that for everybody to check out the Vibrato in 3 Steps blog post and the corresponding video as helping you to set this foundation. I'm going to go over it very briefly here because we have a lot to cover in this 5-day challenge, okay? So first off, it is so imperative when you are developing a vibrato, or even as you continue on in your vibrato studies, that your left hand is relaxed. Now, you may ask, okay, when is a good time to start vibrato? Now, personally, as a teacher and instructor, I never allowed my students to start learning vibrato if their left hand was not set up properly. Now, if a student would come to me and say, well, Heather, I really want to learn vibrato, and they're playing with their wrist caved in or flipping out or some improper posture, I would say to them, okay, great. I'm excited to teach you vibrato when you fix your wrist or when you fix your left hand, because that's the first step to vibrato. And it was very much an incentive for my students, because then they would fix their left hand because they'd want to learn vibrato so badly. Just a couple weeks ago, I asked a very famous violin instructor here in Bulgaria, when did he start teaching his students vibrato? And he said when the girls would come in starting to wear makeup, or when the guys were hitting puberty, this was his answer, because they had the passion inside them and they wanted to learn vibrato. So there's a certain, in his mind, in his explanation, a certain sense of maturity as a violinist and passion that comes in with the vibrato. So that is when, if your left hand is set up properly, that's your first step, to make sure that your left hand's set up properly. If you don't know what is that proper posture for the left hand, I do have a blog post you can check out for left hand posture, okay? So first off, just go, your starting point is the Vibrato in 3 Steps blog post, and it'll lead you where you need to go from there, okay? So posture is very, very important. Having a relaxed left hand is very important. You know, if you find that your left hand is tensing up, to shake it out, to make sure your thumb is relaxed, and that you do have this openness between your thumb and your index finger. If that's tense there, it's going to be very difficult to vibrate without tension, okay? So let's get one thing out there from the very beginning. Tension is not vibrato. There comes a point in a violinist journey where they need to learn vibrato, and if the violinist is not studying with a teacher and they decide they're going to learn vibrato on their own, they will most likely develop not a correct vibrato. So it's very important that you do work with somebody that has already developed a vibrato that can teach you how to develop a vibrato, because the initial reaction of what to do to develop a vibrato is usually not the correct one. So let's get that out of the way. Tension is not vibrato. Okay, vibrato mechanics. Vibrato mechanics is this. The motion follows the fingerboard direction, parallel, okay? It's not a side-to-side motion. It follows the fingerboard. So that's one thing, okay? Now, the next thing to keep in mind, it's what I called the vibrato code. The vibrato code is this. Action stimulates reaction. Okay, so when you vibrate, it's not coming from the finger, okay? It's an action from a bigger muscle that's causing this to move. Now, whether it's your hand or wrist, that's the impulse for that movement, or the stimulus for that movement, or is it your arm? That's the stimulus for that movement, okay? But there's an action here, and the vibrato is a result of that action. It is the reaction to the action. So keep that in mind, not to think that it stems from the point where your finger touches the fingerboard, okay? So that's proper vibrato mechanics. Now, another thing to put out there, vibrato is not a tool to improve intonation, okay? The intonation needs to be set before you add the vibrato, okay? So it is not a tool to improve intonation if you're just a little bit flat and you use a vibrato to get up there, or if you're just a little sharp and you use a vibrato to slide back. That's not the use of vibrato. Vibrato is to help spice up or flavor, enhance a pitch, okay? So we have, for example, I'll just show you. Here's D without vibrato. Third finger on A, okay? And then with vibrato. So it enhances that. And that's what you want to keep in mind. And from this point on, we can go ahead and start our vibrato journey here in the 5-day challenge. Okay, so if you are an absolute newbie to vibrato, I'm just going to give you a couple of muscular exercises. I have a lot more of these muscular exercises to help you in my vibrato, Free Your Inner Vibrato Masterclass. I'm just going to give you a little bit of something to get going with, okay? So if you're a complete newbie to vibrato, you have your left hand posture set, this is the first exercise for you to check out, okay? You can just come up here to the shoulder of the violin and just have your thumb underneath and your finger on top. You can start with your third finger, okay? You don't need the bow at all for this exercise, okay? Yet. So you start with the third finger, okay? And you move your arm or hand back and forth parallel to the fingerboard, okay? And then your second finger, and you just want to stay relaxed, okay? Your first finger, this is just to get a motion, so you want to go back and forth, okay? So you want to do that with every finger. That's your prep exercise today. Now, like I said, there's a lot more prep exercises, but I'm just going to give you one to get you going today, all right, just to get that motion. Next, with the vibrato, you have to make sure that your left hand can do its thing and your right hand can do its thing. It's very much like this. You're rubbing your tummy and you're patting your head. Your left hand has to be independent and your right hand has to be independent. Then the next step is to do this motion here, or just this motion like this, and be able to bow a nice long whole bow. Okay? Because you want to be able to have this arm move a certain way while you're bowing a long whole bow. Now, this applies to everybody of every level that's coming into this challenge. You need to be able to pull long whole bows from frog to tip, nice and straight. So this is another foundational setup to help you continue through the challenge, because every single day of this challenge, we're going to be pulling long whole bows, frog to tip, and you need to be able to divide that up into 4, okay? So if you need to review, start from frog, go all the way to the tip, and then back to the frog. Okay, and just do that on every string, and your left hand is just hanging out. Just to divide the body in half, even though we're working on vibrato, this is what the right hand is going to be doing all 5 days, so you might as well get it going, get it started. Now, the next thing I want you to have to continue with this challenge is a journal. Because every day I want you to take note of what was going on in your practice and write it down in your journal, so you can refer to this and grow exponentially from what work you have done in this challenge as you continue on in your violin journey, okay? Now, you can either pick a journal and be a traditionalist and write it in the journal, or you can go to Trello.com and do it digitally. And I have a video on how to use Trello for your practice sessions. You can check that out. No matter what you choose to do, you do need to start journaling from day 1. Okay, so now that we've set this gorgeous foundation and we have our garden tilled, we are ready for the first vibrato assignment. Today, what I want you to do, now this applies to everybody across the board that's ready for this. Even if you're an intermediate or advanced, this is good review to do, and this is your only assignment for today. specifically on vibrato, besides everything up until this point. And that is to basically divide your bow into 4 and do slow 4 oscillations. Vibrato is made up of speed and oscillation, okay? Oscillation is what is referred to sometimes as the wobble, going back and forth, that's the oscillation. So when the vibrato is going this direction, that's the oscillation. The other thing you have is speed, how fast you go, okay? And we'll get more into that later. But right now, what I want you to do is start from the frog to the tip, and your challenge today is to do every single finger on every single string, 4 oscillations, very big motions, very big, as big as possible, really. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you're doing a wrist vibrato or an arm vibrato, okay, whatever is coming naturally to you. You want to learn one and then the other. I wouldn't suggest learning 2 at the same time because it can get quite confusing. I've had my students that were trying to do 2 at the same time and they got really confused. It's better to compartmentalize your vibratos, do wrist or hand and arm. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's more details in the free Your Inner Vibrato masterclass that walks you through specifically both vibratos. Okay, so here we go. Whatever vibrato you choose, 4 oscillations. I'm going to do the hand or wrist vibrato. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure you are leaning back for an oscillation and not going over or sharp. Okay, so you have your pitch and then lean back. Okay, so let's divide the bow into 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'll demonstrate arm vibratos. We'll start from the pitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and you're going to do that. Let's keep it to 4s. 4 bow strokes. So down and up, 4 oscillations for each bow stroke. I want you to do that with every single finger on every single string. So here we go with C sharp, with 2 on the A string. Starting from the pitch, lean back, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one final tip, and then we'll finish day 1. You want to make sure that the tip of your finger feels like it's glued to the fingerboard. We don't want that contact point where the tip of the finger touches the fingerboard to move around. It just is a leaning, kind of like this, but it's not like it's a shift. Just to put it out there so you get really clear on that motion. Enjoy day 1. I look forward to see your reports in the Facebook study group that you did the challenge, started your journal. You can even take pictures of your violin, your journal. Just post it in the study group and comment that, yes, I am doing the vibrato challenge and I am ready to go. This is what I've done. See you in day 2. Ciao.